Hello folks, I'm Jonathan Milam. Hope you're having a great day. I've got here a fantastic, they're all fantastic, aren't they? But I do have here a fantastic little cornet. It is a King Super 20 SilverSonic from somewhere in the early 60s, late 60s, 60s, 70s, something like that. Close to at least 50 years old, maybe 60. A great little horn. Going to try and play it, see what you think. Got a deep mouthpiece here. It's the Curry Vintage Cornet mouthpiece. Just check out the sound. We'll talk about the horn later. Isn't that a beautiful tone? Really an impressive horn. All right, the story on this, and it's really a great story. Saw some guys that had a horn they had bought from a music store, new, old stock, which means even though it was many years old, it had never sold. I think sometimes what happens in these music stores is they've got so much inventory, they wind up putting things back and almost lose track of it. Anyway, the guy bought this when a music store was going out of business. He forgot he had it. And this horn is in such incredible condition. I can't even find a polish mark on it. It's really, really something. As I mentioned, at least about 50 years, maybe 60, and incredible, essentially unowned or unplayed condition. The valves are fantastic on it, very buttery feel. The slides are lubed, but I'm telling you, they are so tight, they just haven't been used at all. But check this out as far as compression goes. So it'll hold that for several seconds. Okay, this horn in particular has got what King was using at the time, I guess they were famous for, was the sterling silver bell. And there's a little mark here, sterling bell. I was told, and I do believe it, I'm not positive, but I do believe it, that the lead pipe on this is also sterling silver. You've got the nickel silver receiver, and then you get into the interior of the horn, and you've got nickel silver with a judicious mixture of brass, of course, and just a very, very attractive horn. In fact, I was looking at it. They've got brass valve stems, but then the nickel silver for the buttons and the top caps. So just very, very pretty horn. Nickel silver on some of the slides. And second slide, nickel silver, of course, then with brass on the end. Same thing. Now, the one thing, and I enjoy vintage horns, those of you that have seen my videos before, the one thing that I do miss is the first slide pull. I do like that. And King used it occasionally. I think Conn would occasionally do triggers. Maybe some pulls. It seems like I saw one in the 20s, but very unusual. Generally, you've always got your third pull, not always, generally, but very rarely on a vintage horn do you get the first pull, which incidentally on this one is much more limber than the third. But great instrument. Now, a sterling silver bell just gives a different sound from brass. I've had brass, I've had copper, I've had bronze, and they're all, of course, copper is different than brass, but sterling silver is so much different. It's just hard to explain. It seems like such a clear, powerful tone. King says, and I've got all the tags that originally came with it and was reading about it, they say their sterling silver bell does put out more overtones. I believe they said a darker timbre, if I remember correctly. Now, I've also read that if you have the lead pipe that is sterling silver, you get a little darker tone and you don't have to worry about red rot. You know, some people's saliva, especially if you're drinking sugar products or have eaten, that material will eat through a lead pipe. You'll see little dots coming out, bleached color. Generally circular and an ugly pattern on vintage horns. I always look real carefully at the pictures of the lead pipe. Sterling silver, you don't have to worry about that, nor do you with the bronze, rose gold, copper. It's a little more resistant than brass, which is a very light metal and susceptible to dezincification, which is the technical term for red rot. But at any rate, now that was this horn with the Curry Vintage Cornet large drill. 18 is the size and quite a deep cup. I'll play just a scale again to give you the sound. Then I've got some other Curry pieces that are a little more modest in the cup size, and I'll give you an idea what that sounds like. Okay, this is the Vintage Cornet again. Quite a nice tone. Now we're going to go, I believe it's a slightly deeper cut, but a slightly smaller trill, not the breathy tone of the Vintage Cornet. This is Mark Curry's BBC. I'm really into Peter Nero's The Look of Love. Just love these songs that have some large jumps, interesting intervals. We'll just play a little of that on this Mark Curry BBC mouthpiece. And again, that is the BBC mouthpiece. Okay, we'll go to a slightly smaller one, although these are still large mouthpieces. I'm not sure how to help with that. And we have got here a Curry Trumpet Cornet. And then we'll give it a try with the D C. This is the deep C that Mark puts out. Now we're getting into more of a, to my way of thinking, normal mouthpiece as opposed to the huge breathy tone of the Vintage Cornet. that a pretty sound? I really do like these silver belled horns. Okay, now we've got here a piece that I think Mark sells for the piccolo trumpets that have the cornet lead pipe. So this is a fairly shallow cup and definitely a bowl shaped and not real deep. But I find the tone still, while it's very cutting, it is an attractive tone. I really like what I'm getting here. And again, this is the piccolo cornet piece, I believe is what it's called. Isn't that caring? And when I put this in, I just wanted to play. Do we want the rest of it? All right, just a little fun there. I think that's the William Tell Overture. Okay, what else was I going to do? There was one. Oh yes, nimbleness. How nimble is the cornet? And we'll try and work with the chromatic and a little bit just to give you an idea how it moves with some rapidity. And I'd have to say these valves, they need to be broken in. What fun. Again, this is a King Super 20 SilverSonic. Now I'm lucky to have a trumpet here that has the sterling silver bell. It's a little bit older. This is a 1950. So it is the King Silvertone trumpet. And then I've got the Super 20 SilverSonic Cornet. I've got a Flurry, I've got a Curry flugelhorn. Trumpet flugel mouthpiece in the trumpet. Wanted to give you an idea how it sounds, similarity to the cornet, which has the deeper timbre. The Silvertone trumpet with the Curry trumpet flugelhorn sound. And the same song with the SilverSonic Cornet with the Curry Vintage Cornet mouthpiece. And the trumpet. And the cornet. Both beautiful instruments. I'd have to say, with the piccolo piece, you can certainly get a sharp, martial, carrying Beautiful, beautiful sound. But my, with the vintage cornet piece, it certainly does warm up, doesn't it? Okay, that's my review on that. I've told you before that I did have a few other horns I've got to get around to doing. This is a Conn New York Symphony Special. It's the 22B, but it's the special. It's got a little nickel silver trim here. And on this one, since it is the New York Symphony Special, they took the filigree all the way up, and on this horn, actually, they go around the bell crook, although much of it has worn. You can see just a beautiful horn. And on this one, there is a star on the second valve, and I asked a guy from Trumpet Herald that is a Conn aficionado, I should say, and he mentioned either you've got the rose brass bell, which is slightly darker. I don't think it is, or there's other special features. And on this one, they actually did the filigree, of course, on the early part of the lead pipe receiver here. They took it on down to the end of the lead pipe and actually to the bottom part of the tuning slide and the first slide as well. They really did a marvelous number. On this horn, and I mentioned most vintage horns you don't have, but you do have a trigger on the first slide here. Beautiful horn. I've read that Conn took, when they found a good horn, they were going to make it a special, they would take their top techs, their top builders, and let them work with the horn. First time I played this, I thought, what a smooth, smooth horn. Such an easy tone. Obviously did a superb job with the soldering and so on and so forth. But I wanted to play just a moment for you. Got a Reeves 42C here. And this is, again, a 37 New York Symphony Special. I need to do a video of its own, but I had a minute, just thought I'd put this in as a little teaser. Again, that's a 37 Conn New York Symphony Special. But the main purpose of our video is a little look-see at a marvelous King Super 20 SilverSonic Sterling Silver Bell. I believe Sterling Silver Lead Pipe. Great little horn. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks, as always, for tuning in. Any questions, thoughts, comments? It's amazing the massive knowledge that lies around in brass players. Any tips, thoughts on this horn? Please do feel free to shoot a comment. Let us all know what's going on. Have a great day. And as always, thanks for tuning in.